The last area that we're going to look at in regard to delivering the speech is Chapter 16, Physical Aspects of Delivery. So there are some things that we can do. And when we talk about physical aspects of delivery, this has to do with, one, how I use my body, but it also has to do with facial expressions and eye contact, which is huge. All these things, when we talk about the voice and we talk about physical aspects of delivery, all those things fall under this large umbrella called nonverbal communication. In Chapter 15, we looked at vocal qualities or paralinguistic aspects of nonverbal communication. This time we're going to look at some of the physical aspects. And so there are some things that we can do. You affect audience members not only by what you say. We know that the content of your message is remarkably important, and that's why we have focused so much. But it also is influenced by how you deliver the message, how you use kinesics. Kinesics is a fancy word for body language, and proxemics, which is space and distance, how close we stand, how far away we are. And have you ever talked to that person who just stands very close to you and makes you feel real uncomfortable? There are different things we can use body language and space to promote understanding of our message. Now, for most of you, especially those, well, really for everybody, a lot of this is going to be dictated to you, right? We're confined by the space that we're in a classroom. You're confined by the space you're in if you're standing on a stage delivering a speech. We need to adjust to the setting. So there's some different things we want to do. First of all, one of the first things we can do is approach the audience with confidence. As you are walking to the stand, if you're just kind of slowly strolling, or your shoulders are all hunched and your arms are closed in, that's not really projecting someone who's going to confidently deliver a speech. So I tell the students sometimes in life you got to fake it till you make it. And this might be one of those times. You want to approach that podium confidently. Walk deliberately to the front. Don't make silly faces or nervous sounds as you approach, the speaking location. And once you get there, pause. Just take a moment and look around the audience to receive your audience, to allow them to look at you and you're looking at them. Hey, and it's so good to smile. It's good to do those kind of things. Make the most of the speaking situation. This is where the knowledge of proxemics comes into place. Use of space and distance can benefit speakers. Now, you have some limitations of what you can and can't do based on the space that we have, especially in a classroom situation. But that's true of any speaking situation. You want to try to aim for immediacy. The more that we can engage with the audience and have a space that seems a little bit more conversational, the better off you're going to be. Deciding where you're going to speak from, some of these decisions are going to be made for you, and understanding that all settings have limitations. So what do I mean when I say immediacy? If you stand too close to audience members, they're going to feel like you're in your personal space. If you're way far away, it's going to be harder for them to really feel a connection to you. So as much as you can, we're going to try to do that. Decide where you're going to speak from. So every classroom has a podium, and different instructors do different things with those podiums. I personally, for me, have the podium, and again, it depends on what classroom you're in, and for virtual students, this is going to depend on what technology you have. In a perfect world, we would all be, for virtual students, standing up, away from our computer, back far enough so we can see most of you, and you could maybe just have somebody advance through your presentation aid. Or I would be requiring an audience of 10 unknown people. That's not what we have. We all have limitations. And so we want to try, though, to come out from behind that lecture podium or stand up or move around as much as possible. We don't need to just stand still in one space. It's even okay if you move among the audience. I don't have a problem with that. Now, different instructors might say different things, so that's just something that I say. It's not always that conducive to do it. Again, we have limitations. We've got visual aids. You're trying to adjust slides and stuff like that. But again, anytime we can make this more like a conversation, that's going to be better. Coordinate your body language with your words. If what you do with your body is inconsistent with what you say, listeners are always going to believe your nonverbal message more than they're going to believe the words. That's true of your body language. That's true of the paralinguistics. Remember that rate, the pitch, the tone. If I were to say to you, oh, how are you today? And you're like, fine. The way I said that word does not lead the listener to believe that I really am fine. If you said to me, how are you? And I'm like, fine. Oh, look, I raised, my pitch was a little bit higher. Sounded like, okay, that seems to be a match. In my culture where I come from, it seems like those two things go together. If there's a discrepancy between the word and any kind of nonverbal behavior that goes with it, we are more likely to believe the nonverbal behavior. So we want to try to use physical cues to make it easier for the audience members to actually believe and listen to us. So, also coordinating your body language with your words, your gestures, your posture, your facial expressions, your eye contact, your appearance. Those are all important factors. So what do I mean by when I say a gesture? A speaker who gestures meaningfully comes across as natural, relaxed. This might be what you do with your hands. This might be, if you're doing, if you're like, well, I have 3 points. The first one is, if you hold up your finger, number 1. Second one, you have 2 fingers up. Third one, you have 3 fingers up. That is gesturing. That's gesturing that makes sense. And there are some different names for that. There's illustrators and emblems, and we won't get into that too much. The more your gesturing matches the words and the tone and the mood of your message, the more likely it is that your audience is going to believe you. Okay. And I had mentioned that there's something called illustrators. These are gestures that clarify, reinforce, describe, and emblems have a direct verbal translation. So, if I hold up, 2 fingers like a V, it's a V for victory, or it could be a peace sign. Posture. Posture is the position of your body in space. I have, and this occurs, of course, more in classroom than in a virtual setting. If we have, depending on the layout of the room, I have some students that will just grip the podium, and I know that that's because they're nervous and anxious, and some who will lean against the blackboard or against the whiteboard. And oftentimes we don't even realize that we're doing this stuff. But posture does make a difference. We don't want to be completely formal and uptight. We do not need to stand with our hands at our side. That actually makes us look really kind of robotic, and we don't want to do that. But posture, leaning towards the audience a little, is perceived a little more positively than someone who leans away from the audience. When you're ready to speak, ask yourself these questions. Does my posture convey my command of the speech? You are the expert. You are here to educate us and guide us and lead us in this fantastic message that you have developed for us. Does your body language and your posture convey the same thing? Does it express your interest in the audience? Now, we can all, again, say, yeah, I'd rather be doing anything else than delivering this speech right now. But, again, fake it till you make it. And so posture is important. Facial expression and eye contact. Facial expression is really going to depend on how close or far away you are from the audience. Facial expressions can intensify emotion or de-intensify emotion. What we do, there's 100 and some muscles in our face, and just little variations in those muscles can convey a very different meaning to someone. And we have what I call a lot of nonverbal leakage through our face. That's where our face kind of gives away what we really think. That person who says something kind of outrageous and you don't say anything back, but your face is just like, Facial expressions are going to be important parts of what you convey to a message, or to an audience. Something else, though, that's really important is eye contact. I know it's hard to look around a room. You feel intimidated by an audience. If you are at home recording a speech, it's weird to talk to your webcam, and you're looking at different places. All this stuff feels a little bit awkward. But we do know that in our culture, in the United States, the preference is for people to make eye contact, and of course there's cultural variations. But by making eye contact with various members of your audience, it helps them think that you're engaged. One of the biggest reasons I think that students don't make eye contact is that they tend to put too much on their delivery outline, and so they feel like they're going to read. And, it's already scary to be in front of that audience. And so if you have this piece of paper, or these few pieces of paper, or these note cards in front of you that have all these nice words on it, wow, it's a lot more convenient to just look at that and not look up at that audience. Again, practice. practice. You are in command of your speech. You are the expert on your speech. Now show it. We want to use some guidelines. Begin by looking audience members in the eye. Take that moment, take that pause, look around the room, smile, engage the audience. Keep your gaze steady, personal as you're distributing it around the room. You're not always looking at one spot. Don't stare blankly at the wall in the back. It can be kind of hostile, or even maintaining eye contact with somebody for too long can be considered a little hostile. Maintain eye contact with your listeners for at least 3 seconds after you conclude the speech. I often have students say, whatever, and they don't say that's all. They do a good conclusion and then, boom, brush away. Just take a moment and pause and stand there for a minute. It allows your message to sink in. Okay, just to keep this moving along, appearance. What? I'm not asking you to wear a suit. I'm not asking you to dress up. But your appearance, like your gestures, should be unobtrusive. It should not be a distraction to the receivers of your message. So if your appearance is distracting, it's not something you should do. Use your appearance to support. Clothing and grooming are important. Take off your hat. And, or think about the shirt that you're choosing to wear. Whether we like it or not, we know that appearance is a huge factor in the way that others perceive us. So, just to kind of come up with a game plan here. So, you've practiced your speech in front of a full-length mirror, or you've recorded it, or you've done something, you've listened to it. I've done this more than once. I get an idea of my own habits. When I was recording my introductory speech, I kept recording it because I blink a lot. I was, closer to the camera. And after numerous times of doing that, I said, well, apparently I just blink a lot. And I just said, okay, this is how it is. This is why if you practice, if you do a recording, if you do something like that, it allows you to know your own habits. You can envision in the room where you'll be standing in relation to the audience. Think about that. I sometimes have students say, hey, can I come in, is this classroom open early? And, I can always check and see. Oftentimes it's not, but you can come in and do that. You've chosen a posture that feels right to me. Does this feel natural for me? You don't want it to feel completely unnatural. I know the content of my speech, so I'm comfortable with expressing. I am in command of the content of my speech. I can't emphasize that enough. You've practiced maintaining eye contact with the audience members. And you've picked something that's comfortable and works with your speech as well as the context in which you'll be presenting it. So, physical aspects of delivery, all very important as you practice the speech and can certainly make an impact on the audience members.